You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
Okay, so we're back here, LA40 on LA Talk Radio, wishing everyone a happy holiday season. And I'm so excited because today on the show, I have the lovely pleasure of having as my guest to wrap all of 2017, none other than our show, not even the show, the station founder and our executive producer, Sam Hasson.
Yes, Hasson it is.
I want to say Hasson, but I know it's Hasson.
It's Hasson.
I've only known it for 2 years.
Some people say Hassan, but you know, it's not a common name. But there you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
I know. I figured, what better way to wrap the season than to just kind of regroup, Sam? You know, because it's that time of year. Everyone's doing their thing and getting ready for. I don't know if you noticed the traffic this morning. It was
notice
amazing.
the traffic every day. Oh, was it good actually?
Oh yeah, didn't you notice?
No, because I don't take the freeway, but what happens is the freeways are getting a little lighter and the streets are busy because everybody's going to the malls.
Everyone, right? Okay, because see, I take the highways, and today it was like a Christmas present.
Right,
the traffic gods just kind of
because they're all in the stores. You wait till the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fun, you know. I mean, I like the holiday season.
Oh, totally.
You know, you feel good. Yeah. Everybody's in a good mood and everything, you know. So it's cool. Except we don't get snow or even rain here. But what are you going to do?
It's funny because I walked in this morning and just I think because it's December, I feel this need to put a sweater on. Yeah. And I walked in and you had a sweater on. And I think we're just like consciously trying to pretend that it's Christmas weather.
Right. No, exactly.
Even though it's still 75 degrees, I think it's going to be 72 today. It's going to be a little bit cooler. So.
Yeah, I know. I woke up and my watch and my phone says 50 degrees. I'm like, oh my God, you know.
That's freezing.
I have this thing on the phone where it actually, I got a new phone, right? So it wakes me up with the news and the weather.
Okay.
It's amazing.
There you go.
A woman talks and she's like, well, this is what's happening today in the news. And I'm like, wow, I should use that alarm more often than
amazing. And then you just know you're already in the know, right? By the time you even get down the hall, you know.
So, you know, this technology is amazing.
Absolutely.
You know, the things that it lets you do.
Well, I was looking at the calendar, Sam, and something just jumped at me this morning. And I'm like, 365 days is a long time. But then I wanted to break it down. So listen to this, guys at home. 365 days, I got to read it because I don't know it off by heart, is 8,760 hours. Wow. It's 525,600 minutes. And it's 31.5 million seconds. So we have 31 million seconds to work with this year. How do you feel you used your 31 million seconds?
I don't know. I think I can always fill it with more stuff, but I don't have enough time, you know. Yeah. So I'm at a point where I'm really happy with my life right now.
Amazing.
You know, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I'm doing. You know, I feel good. And I'm in my 50s, but I never imagined these would be really the best years of my life. But I've had some tough 30s and things like that, you know, and marriage, divorce, kids, you know, all that stuff, a lot of pressure. Yeah. And, man, now I'm starting to smell 60 already, and that scares me, man. I'm 57 today, and it takes some getting used to. It really does, you know, because it doesn't matter where you look at it. 50 is old. And everything beyond that is like you're invisible.
It's even older, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, and you talk about age a lot on your show and stuff, right?
Because that was sort
you
of the premise
40
of the show is,
how's life for you? I mean,
so, it was an interesting year, Sam, because I'm in my 40th year right now. And it started amazing, like January, February, March. I was on this life high, and I was like, if this is 40s, how freaking fabulous.
Right.
And then things started to shift a little bit, and by June, July, August, I was like crashing and burning.
Oh, God.
But I think what happened was I just was feeling this overwhelming sense of homesickness, not because I haven't been away from home. I've left home 12 years ago. It's been a long time. But because I'm working on some paperwork, I had a whole bunch of stuff going on, so I couldn't go visit my family this summer. And I usually go. And I couldn't go this year. And I just felt this huge, like, what am I doing? Why am I not with the people that matter? But then, again, September came and it kind of spiked up. And now I'm feeling great again.
There you go. Good.
So I kind of feel like I'm riding this wave of, like, going into 2018 really strong. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting a sense from a lot of people. And I want to get your sense from you at home. I'm feeling that 2018 is coming into play with like a lighter vibe to it, right? People seem like they're kind of anticipating goodness.
I hope so, because many people claim this year has been bad for them, Again, for me, it was, there was nothing bad
Did you
about
crash
the
in
year.
August?
Yeah, no, did not crash at all. I'm fine.
No crash at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, my life's been like this, which is very good, because many years of my life have been like this, and that makes you crazy, So when things are going smooth, I'm happy. I don't ask too many questions.
I have a theory. Do you want to hear my theory about roller coasters? All right. Well, first, before we preface that, I do want to mention again, if you're watching us on LAtalkradio.com, or if you're watching via live Facebook stream and you want to join us on this conversation, we'd love to hear from you, because I always want to know how people are wrapping their year. So you're welcome to join us. The dial-in number, if you want to participate in Sam and I's conversation, is 818-570-5085. That's 818-570-5085. If you're local to North America, put a +1 in front of that if you're tuning in from anywhere else. And I know we've got people following us from Portugal, from Switzerland, from Brazil.
Isn't that amazing?
It's so lovely.
I mean, on my show, I have a daily show on
Sam
audio,
has his
right?
Show too. That's the sort of
flagship.
the flagships.
Well, that was the reason. What did they say in French? Raison d'être or something?
Yeah.
The reason for being,
Yeah.
And that's how the station started. I wanted to put together a radio show, and I did, and I started the station. Then people started joining us and stuff, and before you know it, it became huge.
It is. Yeah, and it's been running 10 years almost.
Almost 10 years in February. So that'll be awesome.
Right? Yeah.
And I'm really happy. And we talk about just about anything and everything. It helps me get started with my day.
And your show is called Sam in the Morning.
Yeah,
it helps
right.
all of us get started with our day. Yeah, well, and this is the thing. You can take this next nugget that I'm going to give you, Sam. You can talk about it on your show.
Okay.
The roller coaster. Okay,
Yes.
so people always talk about life being like up and down and up and down and up and down. And it is, but what I find is it's actually not so much a roller coaster as it is a Ferris wheel. Okay, so imagine this, right? You've got a roller coaster, you're going up and down and up and down and up and down, but a Ferris wheel kind of goes around in a circular motion a little bit more slowly, right?
Right.
So what happens is, like and I saw this with my life. I was in my 20s, getting into my 20s. Life was amazing. And I'm at the top of this Ferris wheel. And so you're kind of playing around up here. You're looking at life. Everything's great. It's amazing. And the wheel kind of starts to turn because life happens, like you say, right? And next thing you know, without you even consciously understanding how it came to be, for most people, it's not most people don't go bankrupt overnight. But you kind of, life changes. And all of a sudden, you're down here at the bottom half of it. And you don't even know how the heck that happened, right? And you're going, where did 10 years go? What happened? How am I down here? And then the wheel kind of slowly starts turning up again.
Right.
And so for me, it sort of has gone up again. And now I'm in my 40s. I feel like I'm at the top of the wheel again.
Good.
But what I'm hoping, I'm hoping by the time I'm your age, it doesn't go down again. So
we'll stop the wheel then.
We got to stop the wheel up here. But that's my
top.
theory, right? Is it kind of goes a little more slowly.
Right.
And we can move out of it a little more gracefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely there are ups and downs in life and so forth. And I think those are really the challenges that we have, I do believe that, people sometimes wonder, why is life so difficult and everything? And I believe that our reason for being is to deal with those challenges, to improve ourselves, to be better than, because the bottom line, the key to happiness, and I read this in the book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning. And he was a famous psychologist or psychiatrist in World War II. He was captured and put in a concentration camp, and he survived. Yeah. So he wrote about this afterwards. And he said, I was trying to figure out why some people would jump at the electric fences and kill themselves, while others did not? Why, while others still had hope and so forth, you know, as far as the prisoners and everything, because God knows what went on in those camps, you know, things that are unspeakable. But so he tried to figure out why is it that some people did not give up. And he found that the key is how you view what is happening to you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not what happens to you, because we all have adversities in our lives, right? But what's the difference between one person and another is how they deal with it. You know, and how you deal with it is how you view it. If you view it as, this is a challenge for me, this is a test for me, this is, you know, nobody promised us a rose garden, you know, it's part of life. And if you have hope, then you survive.
Well, and I think he was really instrumental too, because he managed to survive, and I think it was him that was quoted as saying, and I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said, you know, regardless of what situation you find yourself in, no one can get into your own mind.
Right.
No one can force you to think a way that you don't want to think.
Right.
And so even if you're in those places where you feel powerless, and most of us aren't sitting in a concentration camp right now, but you may be feeling powerless because of your family situation, your financial circumstances, your career. You know, remember exactly what you just said, Sam, which is you have the power to put that situation in a perspective that is going to make your current reality either good or bad.
Like you said, nobody can get into your mind. They can't control your mind. And that's one thing nobody can take away from you, you know. And you can keep your own dignity there and so forth. Or you can interpret this as like, why is this happening to me? Life is terrible, all this. I mean, I was at that point, you know, when I was in my 30s, I was going through some very hard times. And I felt there was complete chaos in the universe. I felt nobody cares, nobody sees, nobody feels my pain, you know. When you're depressed, it's like you feel alone, you know. You feel like you're the only one who's feeling the pain. And so, you know, then you have to wonder, how do I come out of this?
So how did you come out of it?
Well, there was a lot of things, but I think mainly I got into spirituality a little bit. And I was, spiritually, I was very dry at the time, you know. I didn't really subscribe to spiritual things. I just felt the whole world was against me. And so then I went to, it was funny because I was in Israel at the time. I went there to take a little break for my divorce and everything, because that was like way too overwhelming for me, you know, because I had 2 small kids and I couldn't deal with it. So I moved to Israel to be with my parents for a little bit. And there I was introduced to the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, you know. So
it's like a spiritual sect of Judaism.
Exactly. And it's not, I mean, it's still, they have very religious rituals, but it does explain to you how things work, why things are the way they are, why do we do all those rituals that we do. It shows you, it approaches things from a scientific point of view many times. So it really spoke to me, you know. And so I got into that, and then pretty much I felt there was no challenge that I could not survive.
Now, is that because you started respecting and understanding, I guess, respecting for your own life and your own sense of being, that you were connected to something bigger than you know, what we perceive as the person next to us, right? Like that, just that physical reality. There's something there that is supportive of us.
Right, yeah. I mean, and I read about this all the time. Currently, I'm reading a new book called God, A Human History. And it's amazing how we've integrated, how the ideas of God first came into being, you know, back with the Homo erectus and Homo sapiens and stuff, you know. I mean, because you have to go back and ask, okay, at what point did people actually start believing in spirits and in things that are bigger than them, start to explain things and so forth.
And there was that need, right? Humanity always had the need. Make it the sun god, make it the god of fire.
And they're explaining it in the way that, well, this is something that I think is more clear, is that people use religion to shield them from the fear of death, you know. So, and the author also figured, he says, you know, when the ancient caveman or whatever, they realized that after they die, they figured that there's got to be something that remains, spirits or whatever.
Right,
and if they stay, then they're among us and all this stuff. And then the ideas of gods came in, and they drew some stuff in the caves, which was amazing. And so they found, like in French, in a cave, a drawing of part man, part animal with like a cat face. And they said this is the first picture of God that was created by people.
Wow.
Yeah, they thought first of all it was like some creatures that they saw or animals or whatever, because that's what we assume. All the cave paintings
were real
tell
things.
stories and stuff like that.
But that was a deity
But
that
that's
they had.
a deity,
Wow.
and that was amazing. So, and that's one thing that I read in philosophy some time ago. And let me preface this by saying, to me, God is an important part of my life, but not. It's more of a personal thing where, to me, God is like, how can there not be when you look around and everything else? There's like the fingerprints of God everywhere. And so I do believe there's a huge force, but at the same time, I also feel that people need it. It's more likely that man created God than God created man, right? Because we can't really prove God, but we know that people do need a religion. Yeah. And there's a lot of research done on whether it's physically in our brain, that gene that calls for us to believe, to be religious. And because think about it, everything that happens to us, even spiritual, starts in the physical world, like you mentioned, everything is like material and physical.
Well, that's kind of the chicken and the egg, because did it start in the material or did it start in the spiritual, and then we manifested it into reality? Right. That's the question, I guess, that people have been asking through the ages.
Right, exactly. And that's why I love discussions about God, because, and when people come on my show, I often ask them, well, how does God play a part in your life? And some people are atheists, some people are, and we had an atheist that made a movie called Godless, and a documentary. And it was very interesting, some of the things he said. He says, if you noticed, we never have had an atheist president. In all key positions, we never really had atheists, because this country is pretty religious. Yeah. Right?
The country overall, the U.S. is overall quite religious.
Right.
Especially the more south you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, So
you found that was comforting to you in your 30s,
Yeah. That feeling that everything is one, that there's more than just what meets the eye.
What makes me feel nice and good, and that I'm really trying to, again, same to your point, right? Just recognize all of the gifts and all of the beauty that life just gives us, that because of our crazy, stressed out, anxious state, we forget. And one thing that somebody said this to me and it stayed with me, but I'm going to say it to you because I hope it stays with you. Every single night, we are gifted by an incredible sunset. Every night it's different. Every night it's like a painting specifically in the sky for us, right? Think about how fabulous that is.
Right.
Every single night it's painted fabulously, and most of us just rush through our day bitching at the car next to us, screaming at the kids, and it's like, why are we so oblivious to the beauty and the serenity that is available to us?
Right.
And I think that's maybe what kind of helped you through that period. Although when I talk to people in their 30s, most of them are upside down. If you're in your 30s right now, don't worry, because it's a tumultuous time.
It really is, because your 20s, you sort of coast, try to plan.
Yeah, you're happy
what
you're an
you're
adult.
gonna do.
Yeah.
But in your 30s, you have a lot of pressure to actually put all that into action, And then if you don't, then by 40 you feel
you feel like a failure.
Yeah,
right?
like where have I been? What have I done? All this stuff. But it's not true, because, look at me with the radio station. This is the longest I've done anything in my career, 10 years of doing the same thing. But I love it, and I feel that, and that started when I was 48, so you never know.
How important is passion, Sam?
Passion is very important. The thing is, you got to love what you do. And I never realized this because in my life, I always felt like, my mom told me once, she says, you're not supposed to enjoy it. It's work, and you're supposed to just work. And that's the way I looked at it. So many years I've worked in offices and 9-to-5 jobs and everything, and I hated it. I couldn't. It was hard to get up in the morning, and I realized if you can't get up in the morning, if you're not looking forward to getting up, something's wrong with your life.
Yeah, and you only have 31 million seconds.
Exactly.
So you don't want to waste too many of them.
And how many years do you have, really? I mean, life is so short, When I'm at 57, I'm starting to look, wow, I get probably 20, 25 years. It's about it. So you want to try and capture as much as you can while you can, and it's not about money. It's not about material things. Because, I've noticed when someone dies, right, people don't talk about how much money they made. They talk about what kind of a person they were,
So
man or woman. And that's what you want to leave behind you. The legacy is who you were as a person, I think, if people loved you and so forth. And in some funerals, you see hundreds and hundreds of people, and that speaks for itself.
Yeah. And I think part of the key, too, is getting to a point when your 80s and your 90s or beyond, as we're living longer, of getting to a point when you're at that place and it's your final days, can you look yourself in the mirror and say, I like who I am, I like what I did, I like who I became, right? How tragic if you can't.
Yeah, because you have a whole life behind you. Yeah. If you can't be proud of who you are and the things that you've done, and you don't have to be a celebrity, you don't have to be a big deal, that's not what it's about. It's about taking care of yourself, of your own, trying to contribute to society in some way. And that's it. I mean, you don't have to go out there and really devote your whole life to giving and stuff. I mean, yeah, that's cool. But the bottom line is you got to take care of yourself. We're born alone and we die alone, and the thing is, it's our journey. It's nobody else's journey. That's one thing that helped me, because I used to look in other people's plate and always ask, why do they have this and I don't? Right? And then I realized we're each here on a different journey, Think about it. If you're going to Vegas and I'm going to Santa Barbara, we're not going to take the same road. And we're going to have different cars, and we're going to be in different places. So to look at the other person and say, why are they here and I'm here? Well, different journeys.
Absolutely different journeys. I'm coming to recognize that
Yeah,
as well,
you don't want to
right?
compare yourself to other people. You really don't.
Yeah, and I think when you do, right, that's where you get, and this is a little bit of the problem with society and the way social media has really blown this thing up, is before you used to compare yourself to your immediate social circle, maybe your immediate community, your neighborhood. Now we're comparing ourselves to everyone.
To everybody.
And we can't all be $100 million basketball stars.
Right.
And we can't possibly have what the $100 million basketball stars have.
Right.
And perhaps we have something that they don't have.
Right.
know?
And
that
besides,
may not
don't
be
forget,
materialistic.
the most important thing to remember is people don't put adverse stuff on Facebook about themselves.
Right.
They only put themselves looking their best when they're all happy and smiling and everything.
Photoshopped, right?
Right, exactly. You don't see what's behind behind the scene. You don't see what's going on. So you might envy somebody who's got a lot of money or a nice car or something. You don't know what's going on at home. Maybe he's miserable at home. Maybe he hates himself. Whatever.
And we're not saying, and maybe he's super happy. We don't know. But the point is, we can't compare because we don't have all the cards. We have no idea. Somebody may have just been diagnosed with a health issue. We don't know what their reality is.
Right.
They may have some aging parents with Alzheimer's and they're stressed out and they're carrying that weight. And you may see the guy, think he's an asshole, and he might just be having a really bad day.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing, and that's a good way to look at things, because you have to separate yourself from others in that way, and understand.
And yet it's a fine line, because you also, being a human being, have to be of service and have to be of some support to your fellow man.
Absolutely.
So it's a fine.
But you want to know. But you want to know who you are first.
Right,
it really is important, because they teach us that we always have to make other people happy and everything, and then you realize there's so much unhappiness in the world because people don't care. They don't take care of themselves first, And
I think a lot of it too, and this is something that through the course of the year, with a lot of the guests I had on the program, we had authors, we had musicians, but we had a number of life coaches, and one of the through lines with all of my life coaches is this notion that a lot of the beliefs that were instilled in us as children that we didn't even know subconsciously we were absorbing ended up crafting how our life was starting to turn out. And you touched on something earlier when you said one of the beliefs you probably subconsciously didn't even know you had was, work is hard. Work is supposed to be work. Work is not
Right.
enjoyable.
Right.
Right. And so you went through 20 years of your career
Right.
in a place where you weren't enjoying work.
Right.
Had maybe that been changed in your mind when you were 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 to
Right.
work is pleasure, do something you love.
So it's the things you
would have
say
had a
to your
really
kids.
different
It
story.
really stays
Yeah.
with you.
Oh yeah.
But and it's amazing you said that, because I can paraphrase it in something somebody told me, and it was also a life coach, and he said the walls we build around us as children become our prison walls when we become adults. So what I'm saying is, for example, if you put a wall to not be hurt by bullying, for example, right? You're going to grow up, you'll still have that wall, and you won't be able to connect with other people. So you have to remember that those devices we had as children don't work as adults, you know? And if you stay stuck in that, then you'll never grow up, you know? You'll never
Well,
mature.
I mean, you'll never mature, and you'll never be the expansive person you're meant to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And when people say I'm stuck, yeah, that's where you're stuck, in these walls. You know, you got to break them down. You got to recognize that you don't have to have these walls. As an adult, you can deal with adversity and stuff. And you know, so I really think it's up to the individual to do things. I don't believe in expecting other people to do things for you.
Right. Yeah. And I had written this one down because I came across it the other day, and I thought I've got to mention this on the show, talking about some of the things that are limiting us. And you know, one thing that a lot of people, especially kind of that I have talked about on the show before, which is people kind of entering their 40s and their 50s, and they start getting that limiting belief of like, oh, my age is going to hold me back. I'm getting
Right.
too old. I can't. But you know what this says is age is not a limiting factor. Your belief in that being a limiting factor is the limiting factor.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Because
And
you see
that's
some
when
of
I
these
discovered
80-year-olds
it.
that go back to university, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah, I mean,
so it's your belief in what your limiting belief actually is
Yeah.
that is limiting you.
no, absolutely. You know, and one thing I can say about middle age is you really start thinking about your life and who you are and what have you accomplished, where am I going, and so forth. You're obviously a lot more mature, and I think that's why many people are happier in their 50s and on. But for a long time, I've had hard time letting go of youth. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I wanted to hang out with young people. I didn't want to look at myself as someone older. But then I realized, you know, it's because inside I feel very young. But people are seeing somebody else, and you have to behave your age, you know? And that's what it comes down to.
And I guess that feeling never goes away, right?
Right,
It never
right.
goes away. You hear people that are 90 saying, I feel like I'm 20, I feel like I'm 16.
Right.
And I'm, you know, so I guess it's that
The
sense
body
of
ages, but not the mind, you
Right,
know?
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you got to stay that way. But you also have, but like you said, the thing with the age is you have to accept it. You know, you can't fight it. And like you said, it's not how old you are, but how you view
and I
the
think each
situation.
age comes with its own new sense of liberation, like you said, because you're kind of feeling lighter. You're having probably more fun than you've ever had because the obligations are off your plate now. You're secure in where you are. You're secure in what you're doing. You enjoy your day.
Right.
All that stuff. And you worked hard to get there.
Yeah, and you learn a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, there's something to be said for being older, you know, where you've got, you know, quite an experience.
What would you say to someone that has that's a big dreamer, right? A little
Right.
kid.
I don't know. Am I the right person to come
I
to with
don't-
that
I don't know.
question?
That's, you know, your
but
perspective.
big dreamers, I mean, you know, obviously you got to follow what you want. Sometimes it's very hard. I mean, people choose professions, especially creative people, that may not necessarily bring them any money, but they still do it. So the thing is this, you got to remember that if it's your passion, forget about the money. Whether the money will come or not, it doesn't matter because it's your passion. That's what you want to do. But if you're doing something that you don't want to do, then you'll definitely be unhappy. So, but you might make money. So you got to be happy with what you decide. You know, you can't just keep changing your mind because you'll never be happy, you know.
Right.
And that's one thing I learned is that you got to know what you want. You got to know what will make you happy. If you think being a musician is going to make you happy, be a musician, but don't expect to be paid a lot of money because it does not pay to be a musician unless you're huge. And why am I saying this? Because I see this every day here. You know, I have guests that are actors and musicians and models and
especially
and
here, right?
authors.
Everyone's an aspiring something.
Right, you know, because people have a lot to say, and then they publish a book and they, you know, it doesn't sell, or they make a CD and it doesn't sell. Well, but that's because you're not looking at it from a business perspective, you know. The sad truth is there's no demand for your music, you know. There's so much out there. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a reason to stop.
Right.
That's
right.
not a reason
right.
to stop.
If that is what it's going to give you that sense of fulfillment.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but dreaming you're going to be a huge star like Tom Cruise or something, very few people get there, you know. So you can have the dream, but don't let it break you if you don't get there, you know. And at the same time, you know, that's just my opinion. Some people might argue and say,
again,
no, that's not
true, the argument there is enjoy the journey, right? It's never even about the destination. And if you're always constantly going through wanting to be over there and never getting over there, you're never going to be be over here. And
exactly. You're always traveling and waiting.
These
for
are our
something to
wise
happen.
words, Sam,
yeah,
as
there
we're
we
getting
go.
to middle age.
Yeah, we're here to philosophize
I refuse
today
to
for
age
you.
too. I refuse. No, it's there's a quote that somebody I respect, Bob Proctor. He's big in the personal transformation, human development field, and he says, you know, most people tiptoe through life, waiting to get safely to death. They don't take chances. They don't take risks. They don't deviate. And they end up dying anyway. Right. So why not live a bigger life, or at least have the intention to live into as much fullness as you can.
Right. And it's all fear, you know. I mean, we're ruled by fear. Fear is probably one of the strongest emotions because it's like you realize that almost everything out there is driven by fear, you know, or the trying to avoid the fear.
Well, you know, and it's funny because I had this conversation the other day and we were talking about fear versus love and anxiety versus pleasure. And it was saying that, you know, 95-96% of the population does things based on their wanting to keep fear at bay. So, for example, you're fearful you're not going to pay your mortgage, so you get up and go to work so that you can pay your mortgage, so you're not in fear of not paying the mortgage, rather than going towards the pleasure, which is what is going to give me joy in life, and why am I not chasing that end of the spectrum?
Right.
You know, people are always being triggered by the fear element versus the pleasure element.
Right. And that's because it seems like, well, research after research has shown that people will work harder at avoiding pain than seeking pleasure. So that's what happens. That's what keeps you from, and that's exactly what you said. It keeps you from doing what you should be doing, what you want to do, because you're trying to avoid some pain of making a mistake or failing, or, you know, but I mean, you know, you can't get into your 40s and start putting yourself under pressure that, oh, I need to get married, I need to do this, and then marry just anybody. Because I can tell you, I've been through two marriages, and you gotta get married for the right reason.
Yeah,
really, for the right reason. And the right reason is always, there's only one, I think. One reason to get married, and that is that you want to be with that person for the rest of your life. Any other reason sucks. Because if you get married because you want to have kids, you may end up with someone you don't like. If you want to get married because
now, do you think you can find a person and stay with them for 40, 50, 60, 70 years?
Some people can. I don't know. You know, but at least that should be the reason that you get married. Yeah. You know, but if you have any doubts, or if you're saying, well, that's the best I can find right now, maybe I should, you know, I've been with them for a long time, maybe we should get married. But no, you know, not for the family, not for anybody. Do it just for you, because that's who you want to be with. Because any other reason, you probably won't last.
Yeah, right.
You know, but you're right in your question. I mean, I don't believe that marriage is supposed to be a lifetime thing. You know.
Well, I mean, I kind of think when they put that that in place, people were only living till their 50s.
40, 50. That's true, right?
Yeah, be with this person forever was only 20 years. It wasn't 50. Sam, I want to chit chat quickly with you about 2018 coming up, because we're wrapping 2017, and I think 2017 for most people seems like a good year. I know a lot of people had a hard time with 2016. Right. If you were remember everyone was hashtagging, thank God this year is over, worst year of my life.
Yeah.
2017 felt a little bit lighter. 2018 feels like it's coming in a little bit lighter. Do you have any, what's the word? New Year's resolution? Any intentions
No
for this year?
resolutions, no. I mean, there's some things that need to be done in my life, regardless of whether it's New Year's or not. But I postpone them, like everybody. But at the same time, I don't know, like, and we were talking about, like, trying to get to the destination. When people ask me, well, where do you want to go with the station? The truth is I don't really know. I'm just enjoying myself right now, and wherever it'll end up. Maybe it's not the best business decision in the world, but I'm happy.
Right.
And that's the bottom line.
Right,
I'm doing what I want. I get up with desire every day, with energy every day, and that's worth everything.
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
the whole point. Absolutely. Well, for me, 2018 is coming up, and I started 2 new companies this year, so I'm going to be dealing a lot with the tax department.
Yeah, right.
Making sure all my paperwork's in order, but
I know
but
that's a sucky
but
part
okay,
of
you got to
business.
do that in order to grow, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
So the thing that I've been talking to myself about is, don't be scared of the paperwork, because a lot of people are scared of, the bureaucracy, the paperwork. A lot of people that do things are scared of technology, so they don't want to start something new because they're not familiar with how the internet works. They're not as familiar as they could be. So, I guess my piece of advice to everyone is, all that stuff is learnable. And if it's not learnable, there's someone you can hire to do it for you.
Right.
So don't put just day-to-day blocks in your way from doing things that you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Do the things you're best at, and the things you're not good at, hire somebody to do it for you.
Do it for you.
Yeah, and it's hard when you start a business because you want to do everything.
Right.
It's hard to delegate, and but you have to.
Yeah.
If you want to grow, you have to have people around you.
And a good
Can't
team.
do it by yourself.
Exactly. All right, we're going to...
So 2018, maybe we can make some predictions, huh?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
All right, let's try that.
I don't know.
Well, it was an interesting year in politics.
Right,
Which I
but
think
maybe
is
we
gonna
shouldn't go there.
continue. I was going to say that's going to continue with the status quo, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Yeah.
That's
That's true. There's a lot of development. We also have North Korea, which is very unstable right
little
now.
Tumultuous, yeah. But global warming, we saw it with the fires here, right?
Right. I don't know if that's part of it, Katerina. I don't know what they attribute to what, but I think there's no denying that climate is changing. If the scientists are saying,
have you noticed a climate change? You've been in LA for a long time.
But I'll tell you what it is, though, because we can't really tell within a 20, 30-year period. You have to look at it like over centuries, because the bottom line is this stuff doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So I think we have a problem. It's clear to see when you go to China and India and see the pollution there.
The smog.
My
right?
God, how can people even live like that, So you see that and you realize that we really have to take care of our planet, we do. And some people, it's not a sexy thing to talk about and to do, but we do have to do it, This is where we live, It's like...
but Elon Musk is trying to change that, right? His big Mars Mars project, SpaceX.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. Did you know that the atmosphere on Mars, I did know this, that the atmosphere is red, right? Like our sky is blue, their sky is red. But what I didn't know is their sunsets are blue. So you know how our sunsets go kind of pink and red and yellow and orange? The sunsets on Mars go bluish, blues. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. We'll have to get that. I don't know if you and I are going to make it, Sam.
Do they have an atmosphere there? I wonder if they have an atmosphere on Mars. I don't know. But, there's a lot of interesting stuff,
Yeah. Any predictions? What are you predicting for 2018?
God, I haven't even thought about it. I can tell you, though, that I can predict a little further up and say that eventually there's a concept called singularity where machines are going to catch up to our intelligence. And what are we going to do then, Katerina? What are we going to do then? It's
going to be Terminator all over again.
Terminator or The Matrix or something like that, But so Elon Musk said AI could be very dangerous unless we program the robots not to kill humans.
Artificial intelligence.
But the thing is how there's always going to be somebody evil that would program them to kill people.
Right. Yeah. How do you?
So how do you get to that? I don't know. They're saying that point might be reached by 2030. So
wow.
So
it's
imagine our generation's probably gonna, but nobody really knows. It's just a question of it doesn't seem like outrageous when you think of how fast we've progressed.
Well, and
right?
I even had this thought the other day because I have 2 little nephews, and they're 3 and 1. They're young, but I was interacting with them and I was Skyping with them, and what I came to recognize was their version of a telephone is a physical screen, right? Like that's just their reality is the phone rings and you can see the person.
Right.
And I'm like, how futuristic does that seem from us that remember the rotary phone in the wall, right?
Exactly, and having to pay long distance charges.
I remember when my parents got a longer cord. And I used to be able to go around the kitchen wall to talk privately, and I was so excited.
And carry the phone in your hand, right?
Let alone the wireless that came in where you had the hands-free, the cordless.
Right.
And then we went into, pretty common cell phone use.
Right.
And now we're going into, touch screen stuff.
I know.
Crazy.
And just think how naive we had to have been in 2007 before the iPhone came out, I mean, it transformed the world. It really has,
And the internet in general, Sam, because, I mean, you have a question, right? How many calories in a mango? How many calories in a mango? You used to have to go to a library and find a book and research or call a doctor. Right. I mean, everything is at the tip of our fingers, and still we're miserable.
I know.
What do we want?
Because it separates us, and if you notice those screens, everybody looks at screens all the time. And our generations remember that there was a time when we'd actually interact with each other. The kids today, they don't understand that. I mean, they won't even go beyond texting, like talking on the phone. I mean, come on, at least on the phone, let's talk. No, texting.
Yeah.
So, texting lacks emotion, expression, tone.
Well, and you can misinterpret it because
of
that,
saying,
right? Yeah. Like I remember I had written the other day, oh, never mind. What I had written while I was writing it in my mind was, oh, never mind, because I found the idea. The way it was interpreted was, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
like I was bitching at them, and I'm like, no, I was actually excited, like, oh, never mind.
I know. So half the time you spend explaining your text.
Totally. So maybe prediction for the future. We have text messaging that can somehow parlay the emotion behind the text into the message.
Yeah.
That'll be, emojis are trying to do do now, but.
But you're asking about 2018.
Yeah,
what do you think? Do you have any predictions for 2018?
I'm
wishes?
just feeling like it's going to be a heck of a year.
That's good.
The more people I talk to, the more people are telling me that they've been planting their foundations. They've been setting things up, and that really they're on the cusp of exploding. I'm hearing that from almost everybody that I'm talking to.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, and they say the economy is improved too, and you can tell. I mean, you can feel it.
Well, you can look at the,
well, no matter what you think of politically, but the economy is. People are spending money. People are buying. People this. So
do you think it's a bubble,
the stock market is going up. I don't think it's a bubble. No, it's not something that's like unusually fast or unusual. I mean, it's up and downs of economic cycle. That happens. But
prediction, probably a safe one. Bitcoin is going to keep rising.
Yeah, right. Well, you don't know what's going to happen with it. And did you know that Bitcoin is just one of a few currencies that all use the same technology?
Yes.
And this was started. They don't even know if it was started by one person or a few. There's like a Japanese name attached to it, but. It's very interesting, and Bitcoin is really a digital currency. They can't trace it back to anybody. So to me, it's actually a good thing, because when you think about it, sometimes you don't want to leave tracks of where you were, where you spent your money or anything, right? So you pay cash.
Yeah.
But I think cash is going to be phased out eventually. I really do. So how do we pay anonymously? Bitcoin would be a good opportunity, good option. It
may be.
Yeah,
we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Sam. Anything you want to tell the viewers?
I want to tell you to listen to my show.
Of course.
Check out our radio station. Even though you may be on Facebook right now, go to latalkradio.com. We've got dozens of great shows that you can check out. Katerina, we always love having you here.
Yeah, I know.
You're an amazing presenter.
Thank you.
I said presenter like host. The British say presenter. But you do present the show. And you're very talented, like I said, and you've got a lot of good things ahead of you. And I'm just saying, keep looking forward. And because, look, I see people, and I know if someone's got it, that entertainment seed or whatever you want to call it. And like my former co-host from like she got like a national gig. Now she's on like a national TV and stuff.
So great.
Yeah. So and this was like her last audition after having been in LA for 10 years. She said, "If I don't get this thing, I'm out of here." And she got it.
Wow.
So you never know what might be
keep
around the
persevering,
corner, right,
Yeah,
Katerina?
exactly. Keep persevering, people.
I know.
So true.
So and just be good to each other, man. I mean, what's wrong with that? You know, it's.
I think that's right, Sam. I think my in my piece of wisdom would be just maybe have a little bit more compassion for people.
Right.
You know, if we can be a little kinder and give away free stuff like a smile.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it sounds corny, but like it makes you feel good. It makes them feel good. Like
Yeah, and I mean, you just gotta really believe that. You know, that's one thing in the Kabbalah that the reason that it made me a lot more grounded. They say, well, I mean, if you're into spirituality, then you accept reincarnation and things like that, because you believe in the soul can live forever. And so if you believe in that, think that person you're hurting may have been your mother in the previous life. Treat them kindly.
Treat them kindly, absolutely. And treat us kindly by following us on social media because, we love nothing more than validation from strangers. But in all fairness,
Isn't that amazing, though?
LA Talk Radio, Sam Hasson, Instagram, Facebook, same thing for me, Katerina Cozias.
Sam in the morning, go to LA
there.
Talk Radio. Gives me just as much pleasure as Sam in the morning.
Yeah.
And thanks again for watching. Thanks for having me.
I thank you for being here,
of
Sam.
Course,
I thank
I
you
love
for
it.
having the station, for having us, giving us the opportunity to to present here and to share with the audience. And for everyone there at home, just wishing you a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. All the very best in 2018. I'm off next week. It's officially Christmas week, so I won't be with you, but we'll be with you in January. So I'm going to see you in the future.
Yes, next year, folks.
We'll see you in the future. We'll see you guys again. Thanks so much. Have a lovely time.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.